Welcome to the space of Born to Transform. I'm very grateful you're here listening, questioning, and being open to what might be new information and perspectives in life. As always, please don't just believe what I say. There's a lot of information out there, and it's very important that whatever you listen to through different people or different channels, you verify it through your own experience and instincts. So, this looks like even if you hear something that you don't completely understand, but you kind of resonate with, that's what I'm referring to when I say verify it through your own experience. In today's episode, we're going to talk about trust. Trust in the unknown, trust in God, the universe, or whatever you call it. And I'm going to start by saying that personally, there are two things that, when combined, produce absolute chaos in my life, and that is stress and the end of my cycle. I know for a fact that there are 2 days when my immune system is at its lowest every month, and that makes me experience a decrease in the hormones that help me balance basically my whole life. Those days I call the hole. My thoughts go crazy into like worst case scenarios and negative side of things. It's actually insane. It's pretty crazy. But the good thing is that I know that it happens. I have it identified. So during those days, I give myself extra love and I try to ignore pretty much every scenario that my mind is running behind the scenes and even in the conscious level. But now, if I combine this with the stress, which by itself is a direct attack to the immune system at any point, well, that becomes a perfect combination for me to get sick. And I don't get sick very often, but when I do, it's monumental. All this to say, I'm a little sick right now. You might hear it in my voice a little bit. And I want to share why stress got the better out of me this month. So I'll give you a little rundown on how life, God or the universe, or whatever you choose to call it, chose March as the month where everything was going to change for me. If you have listened to previous episodes, you know that I moved to Vancouver from Montreal a little over 8 months ago. So, as the beginning of this month, March of 2023, this is what my life looked like. I need to apply for my permanent residency in Canada because my work permit is about to expire in June. And for that, I need a job in BC because I plan to apply through the provincial nominee program. There are a lot of different streams that you can do this if you're interested in immigration in Canada. This is not why we're here today, but let me know if you're interested in that. I have a couple of friends that are really good at knowing all this stuff, so we can have them here in the program. Anyway, I need to apply for my PR. So, since the contract with my current company that is based in Montreal was expiring next week, March 31st, I made the decision not to renew the contract with them. So, as of by March 31st, I won't have a job anymore. My partner and I at the time, we were trying to figure out if long distance across 4,000 kilometers would be something we could do. I also started this podcast this month and my business, which I'm very proud of, but that comes with a lot of work. And in my family area, I was having some turbulence as well. In other words, in the span of 2 weeks, I knew I was going to be without a job for April. Me and my partner broke up. I started my own business and I have a legal time bomb on my neck because before my work permit expires, I need to apply or I have to leave the country. So it's been a pretty rocky couple of weeks. It's been a pretty rocky month. And luckily, I've been studying tools of personal development and emotional intelligence that help me ground myself in my personal power while the storm is going on around me. Sort of like, I like to see it as I'm in the eye of a hurricane. And there's all these different areas that are circling around me right now. They're changing. Some of them are going away. Um, and I'm kind of just sitting down, watching it all happen, while I can take certain action in different areas. But what I need to do right now is wait for things to settle so that I can see more clearly the picture of how I'm going to move forward. And I also have like a good support system, so that's been pulling me through this last couple of weeks. But even though this month has been by far the craziest I've lived in the last couple of years, it's been charged with uncertainty, and it's been all at the same time. So all of these different areas that I've been talking about, they all happened in the span of a week, in the span of 2 weeks. So it's not like, okay, I broke up with my partner, but I can dedicate time and space to feel those feelings and to, pull myself back together after a mourning period. Like it was a lot of things at the same time, and all of them are very important for me right now. As humans, we want the illusion of safety, and we find safety in comfort, in our habitualness at things that we know, which is why when big life changes come knocking at our door, we resist. We resist that change that will destabilize that safety. And by resisting, we are choosing to suffer. It sounds a bit harsh, but suffering is just a product of not accepting what is. I feel a lot of different emotions these weeks, and it was overwhelming. But if I've learned something during these last couple of years, is that addressing all of those emotions and giving myself space to feel them, was the most important thing I could do at the moment, but also the most uncomfortable one. Our generation, I think I'm talking here about millennials, a little bit of Gen Z, and whoever came before us. We didn't have the space in the educational curriculum to teach us about emotional or social intelligence. We don't have the tools to process our emotions in a healthy way, but we are experts at numbing. And we can numb ourselves with everything: Netflix, food, books, of course, drugs, alcohol. The list goes on and on. You can numb yourself pretty much with whatever you can find. And numbing is the process of doing an activity in order to avoid something that's happening in your life. And that's one of the main problems that we have in the collective today, because numbness isn't feeling nothing, it's feeling everything and never having learned how to process it. But the storage of unclaimed, unattended feelings isn't infinite. We reach a point where we explode, and everything we've been trying to repress comes out in the most unhealthy ways, usually affecting, well, you yourself and the people around you, the people who care about you. So for a week, I did exactly that: get my emotions the attention that they were asking for. I felt sad and I allowed myself the sadness. I felt angry and I felt hopeless, and I felt and felt until I got tired of feeling that way and I reached the point of saturation. And I felt this a couple of times, um, because this is all like the feelings when you get attached to them and you don't accept the situation for what is. It turns into suffering. It turns into digging yourself a bigger hole that what you're experiencing in reality. And then choosing to stay there out of, well, there's a lot of different reasons, but out of like self-pity, out of like, I want someone to pull me out, I want to pull myself out. This takes a lot of experience, and it's usually better to see someone who can address it with you, a professional. But it's not that I was completely just feeling my feelings and then passing through them and everything was good at the end. I also did a lot of numbing. I usually do numbing with books, or if I like a Netflix show, I will binge the whole thing, even if it's 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, because avoiding in the short term feels better than addressing what's actually happening. But in the long term, again, we reach that point of saturation. We don't want to feel that way anymore, and we get really tired of feeling that. So emotions are not going to change what is, and acceptance of what is will change your perspective on the situation. And that is what actually helps us build and move forward from something that we are currently moving from. So it's not about changing what you feel. It's about listening. It's about listening to those emotions, because emotions is how we communicate with ourselves. They're tools for us to know that something is not aligned with us at that moment. If something is hurtful, if something is making you angry, that is something that you have to address. It has everything to do with you, and nothing to do with the other person or the situation. So this month, I've been surrendering and trusting and accepting. This has been my primary focus. I can only do to a certain point. I'm responsible for the actions that I take, addressing the goals that I have, but the outcome of those actions are not up to me. So I do my part, and I let the rest fall like Tetris in its order whenever that's supposed to happen. After a couple of weeks of feeling a lot and numbing and digging my hole deeper, things started to change slowly. So, like I mentioned, three main aspects of my life. So, legal, professional, relationship, and family. Doing this, trusting, I allowed myself to go to different places, to explore the city, to be open to possibilities. And such is life that I went to an event and I meet a person who just happens to be an immigration lawyer, and he's like, I can help you with your process. And I'm like, okay, this is great, amazing. Because the person who's usually helped me before is like disappeared, is not answering any of my emails. So that was another stress that I have. And now the universe is like, okay, here's someone to help you with that problem. Then I applied for a job in the same industry that I'm in right now. And I got a recommendation from my boss to the boss of this company, which I'm like very grateful for. And I'm like, great, okay, if that is what's meant to happen, it will. I took the steps. I did what I can, the actions. Now the outcome is not up to me. Trusting. And a couple of days ago, for the first time since I've been in Canada, which is now going to be 8 years in November, the Minister of Immigration announced that people with my work permit, which is non-renewable, will be allowed to apply for an extension of the permit for 18 months extra. So I'm like, okay, legally, that's good. legally, I'm not stressed anymore. In the professional area, I've been taking all of the steps that I need, and I'm trusting. In the relationships area of my life, I'm still healing. Um, Still going through that process. It takes a while when you love someone deeply. The feelings after match are as equally big and as equally impactful. But I'm getting there. And in the family side, it's also really good right now. It's all based on communication and healthy ways of expressing yourself. So, I think to close this episode today, I want to say that when life throws us a lot of change, is because we're ready to enter the next chapter of our lives, to evolve and to become. That dream that you have, that goal that you have visualized, it's at the other side of the uncomfortable feeling of not knowing exactly what's going to happen, taking the steps. It requires a lot of courage, but it's always worth it. At least in my experience, I found that it has always been worth it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you like the podcast, make sure you leave us a review or a rating depending on where you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts. You can find us on Instagram as borntotransform.ca or send us an email at borntotransform.ca@gmail.com. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I hope you enjoy the spring that we're living now in the northern hemisphere. I know I am. Bye.